I'm Chris Fuller, and welcome to a new episode of A Millennial's Point of View. With 2019's end coming right around the corner, it's time to look forward to 2020 and to cast our wishes for what we want to see in the new year. What I want to do today is a little bit of a Christmas-themed episode and give you my Christmas wish list for 2020. Now, these are games that could be announced already, but just has no hint of a release in 2020. And then also, it could be games that aren't even announced yet. It's going to be mostly focused on that, but I do want to give a little shout out to a few games here and there that I really do hope release in 2020 that we do already know about. But with that being said, let's get started. Alright, so first up is probably my number one most wanted thing for 2020 is an announcement for Advance Wars 5. Now, it's been about a decade since Advance Wars Days of Ruin came out, and I'm a huge fan of the series. It's one of my personal favorites. And with the rising success of Fire Emblem, I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but it'd be really nice to see Intelligent Systems go back to one of their original IPs and see what they can do with it. Alright, next up is Super Mario Odyssey 2. Now, with Breath of the Wild 2 being announced, I think that this game more than likely will happen at some point. And I really hope we get an announcement for 2020. I hope we get an announcement for the summer, and maybe even early 2021 we can get a release. But you never know with Nintendo. Hopefully we get a new 3D Mario that is like Odyssey, or 64, or Sunshine at the very least. Alright, next up we're going to do a Super Smash Brothers wish list. Now, I could make a whole separate video, but just on the characters that I want in Smash, so I'm going to just say my number one for this is Crash Bandicoot. I think that would be an amazing addition. You know, having Mario, Banjo, Sonic, and then Crash in the game, it would really represent all the big shots in platformers, at least all the realistic ones we can hope to see in Smash Brothers. And going right off of that, Spyro and Crash 4. Now, this is definitely more than likely, as Activision has said stuff about the continuation of the series with the trilogies that came out, because they were so successful. But I really do hope we see an announcement for both in 2020. It's more than likely that Crash will come first, but I think that we will eventually get a new Spyro and new Crash. But it's just really wait and see kind of thing for that. And then, why not keep the 3D collectathon going with Banjo 3 or a new Banjo Kazooie game? I think this is really likely, as Microsoft seems to be turning a new leaf when it comes to some of their IPs. They let dormant for a while, and I don't know how they can see all the excitement with Banjo being in Smash and not wanting to take advantage of that. Alright, and then the first release that I want to see of a game we already know about is Bayonetta 3. We haven't seen anything on this game since sometime, I think summer 2018. Is when we first saw this game, and it was just a logo, and we haven't seen anything since then. So I'm really hoping for a release in 2020. If not, then at the very least some updated information, because I'm a huge Bayonetta 1 and 2 fan, and I really am looking forward to Bayonetta 3. Alright, so for another dormant franchise, we have Pikmin 4. Now, there's been rumors that this game has been in development for a long time, but nothing has been officially announced from Nintendo, and I would love to see an announcement for the series. I think that there should be at least one Pikmin on the Switch. It's not the biggest Nintendo franchise in the world, but it is big enough to grant at least one game for the Nintendo Switch. And going on to another Switch-wanted game is Punch-Out for the Switch. Now, we haven't had a new Punch-Out game since the Wii one, so again, just like Advance Wars, it's been about a decade, and I think we're ripe due for a new one because Punch-Out's just a fun little in-between game. You know, it's not a major release. You're not going to get a bunch of hype for it like you would a Zelda or a Mario, but it is a great gap filler for those months that just seem like there's nothing coming out. And I think that would be really good for an April or May kind of game. So, going on to some more Nintendo games, we have a new 2D Zelda. I think with the Link's Awakening remake and A Link Between Worlds, we have seen that 2D Zelda can work in the modern era. And granted, you know, A Link Between Worlds was kind of a new game, kind of a remake, and A Link's Awakening was a straight-up remake. But with all this fanfare for the 2D Zeldas, I think we need a new, fresh 2D Zelda that plays just like the old ones and has the same graphical style as Link's Awakening remake I think it would be fantastic, and I am a big fan of 2D Zelda, one of my favorites. Alright, so this one I've heard rumors about as well, Bloodborne 2. Now, I don't know if these rumors are pretty much confirmed or not, but I would love to see a Bloodborne 2 because Bloodborne is my favorite PlayStation 4 game, by far. I do like some of the other Dark Souls games. I haven't beaten them, same with Sekiro and Demon Souls, but Bloodborne is the one game in the series that got me so invested where I just had to beat it. I couldn't stop playing it until I beat the game, and that says a lot for it, and I really love the fast-paced action of Bloodborne, and I don't see why we can't get a sequel. We have 3 Dark Souls, and maybe even a 4th one on the way. Who knows? Next up is one that I think is more than likely, Megaman X9. With the success of Megaman 11, and them re-releasing all these collections that they have, I think that Capcom's just priming people up for an X9, and I think it'll be fantastic, especially if you could play as Zero like you could in X4 or X5. If they made a fast-paced Mega Man X game that plays just like X1 or 4, it would be heaven for me, because sure, I like Mega Man X8, it's pretty good, but it's a little bit slow for me. If they made it as fast-paced as those older games, that's some of the best 2D gaming you're ever going to get. So I really hope they announce it this year. Maybe even after the Mega Man Zero and ZX collection come out, maybe on like that day they announce it. That would be incredible. Next up, I think this game will happen. Do I think it'll happen in 2020? Not necessarily, but I hope so. Cuphead 2. Now, I think that Cuphead 2 will probably happen, even though Cuphead 1 took a long time to make. It was so popular and people loved the style so much that it would be kind of foolish to just let it go by the wayside. And I think, you know, packaging it with the first one, even, you know, as a little collection thing would be really cool. Don't necessarily think it'll get announced this year, but it is something that I really want. And then going in with another indie kind of game is Sonic Mania 2. Now, Sonic Mania 1 is the greatest Sonic game ever made, in my opinion. And that's saying a lot, because I like a lot of the Sonic games, like Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Knuckles. I'm a big Sonic Adventure guy. So for me to say that is saying a lot. And the fact that it was made by fans, it's just a fantastic game. But I want to see a Sonic Mania 2 where we have none of the old stuff from the old games. Now, sure, that was a great little charm of Sonic Mania, but the new stuff was the best part of the games by far. And if Christian Whitehead and his team got to make a completely original 2D Sonic game, I think it could be one of the best 2D games of all time, if not the best 2D game of all time. It would be an incredible game. I think that they would love to make it if Sega would allow it. Now, my next one might be a little bit out there, but I think having a Nintendo Kart for Mario Kart 9 or a Mario Kart Double Dash 2 would be an amazing thing to release. And I know with the success of Mario Kart 8, they might not want to release a new Mario Kart, but that game did release near the launch of the Switch, and I really hope we do get an original Mario Kart game for the Switch, because as a few people that played the Wii U, it was a Wii U game originally. I think every Nintendo console deserves its original Mario Kart. Whether it be 9 or Nintendo Kart with like Smash Brothers kind of characters in it, where it's just all of Nintendo's franchises, or my personal most wanted is a Double Dash 2. I really do hope we get some kind of Mario Kart news in 2020. Alright, this one I think is one of the least likely to happen in 2020 specifically, but it will happen eventually, is Persona 6. Now, Persona 5 took forever from announcement to release. So, I think it was 2013 to 2016 or 17? Or no, 2013 to 2017, I think. So, with that being said, I wouldn't be shocked if they announced a Persona 6 this year, and it didn't come out until like 2024 or 2023, but you never know. Another thing that I would really love to see announced is a re-release of Persona 3 and 4. Those games are kind of trapped on the older consoles, and I think with how well Persona 5 did, a lot of people want to go back to 3 and 4, and having a re-release, just like straight up re-release, not even a remake, would be fantastic. But having a remake would be the best thing. So hopefully one of those two things will get announced. Either the new Persona will get announced, or a re-release of 3 and 4. Next up is something that you guys might not really want, but I kind of do, is Fallout 5. Now, I know Fallout 76 was a disaster from Bethesda, and Bethesda has been on a downward spiral the past few years, but I still have hope that the next Elder Scrolls and potentially the next Fallout could be great games and they could return to form. I was disappointed in Fallout 4, but I love Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3. So I still have hope for the series, and I think they could make a good Fallout game again if they just give it the time it needs, and I would love to see a Fallout 5 announced this year. And lastly on my list is a Rayman Legends 2 or just a new 2D Rayman game in the same style. Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends are some of my favorite 2D co-op games ever made, and I'm surprised that it's been so long since Rayman Legends 2, or the original Rayman Legends came out. It's been since 2013, so almost 7 years? Question mark on that. But either way, it's been a long time, and there just needs to be a new 2D Rayman. I mean, sure, 2D games aren't quite as big as they were when Origins and Legends came out, but there's still a market for it, and a 2D game with that kind of fidelity and just looks that nice and plays super well would be an amazing thing, and to see a comeback of those music levels would also be a pretty sweet deal. Alright guys, thank you for listening to another episode of A Millennial's Point of View. If you like what you saw here, consider subscribing and also sharing to help grow the channel. I have some other videos that you might be interested in, like the 10 Switch ports that we need, or what I would put on the N64 Mini from my personal collection. But either way guys, thank you so much for listening again. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Here's to 2020.